So they can come to you and say, boss, I need 5 hours on this radiator support, I need 2 hours to set. What are they chasing? They're chasing their hours. They're not necessarily, I'm not saying you don't have people that do their very best to try to get everything, right? But for the most part, what they're worried about is themselves. So you can tell that when you hand them a supplement and the first thing they do is this. Yeah, that 24 hour, okay, I can do this, right? What does that tell you? Their care level for, do they have all the shit they need to fix the car, is basically zero, right? Here's the funny thing about that, and I'm going down a bunny trail now. The thing that costs technicians more money on the flag hour than anything else, it's not the judgment time that you didn't get them, right? It's not that they wanted 5 hours on that quarter and we could only get them 3. It's the fact that they miss 30% of their damn parts, and you've got to make multiple parts orders over and over and over again, and you've got to take cars in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Most of the time that is wasted, and time for them is money, is redundant work that they are like totally okay with doing, right? Which, by the way, is our fault in this room, because we have set that table that we are okay with them half-ass taking cars apart, giving us half-ass supplement sheets or write-ups or however you do it at your shop, and then we just repeat and rinse and repeat until we get to the end, right? And it's like, in our industry, we're okay with that, right? So, to get to a consistent result, we need 2 things. We need a consistent approach of looking at the cars, which we're going to talk about today from an office standpoint. What we're not going to dive into too much, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I just can't help myself, is the actual disassembly piece of the car, right? Because it's twofold. Because you could be as good, yes sir? Yeah, absolutely.
So like the assignment was that the customer's going to be paying out of pocket.
Right.
So like in every shop is different, but like at my shop, I can't disassemble a vehicle because every part's not going to be put back together. It's not going to go on right. You're just going to have bumpers falling off, headlights coming off. So you got to know how the car is properly structured. From the top of your head. There's a lot of people I see, that just, oh, I see this just on top. You have to know that the core support is damaged, so you have to replace it. If there's a top hit, you know that the radiator, condenser, all that has to be replaced.
Right.
So, that's where it comes from, consistency. You got to know how the car's structured.
Yeah, that's important too. But even to your point, even at that point, you said you take the car apart yourself. You also got to get it apart, right? But
that's as soon as the cars they accept it, what they're going to pay for it, and then if there's something that you need to do, of course you do.
Yeah, you're going to supplement for it, right? And that's just, especially on a CP customer pay deal, right? You just got to set that table that we're possibly going to find more stuff. I mean, that's going to happen when you disassemble.
Oh yeah,
right. But I guess my one thing I will say is, and it's kind of a little bit of a different subject. What I am saying is that as an industry, we're okay with disassembling that car, and still okay with not getting everything on S1, and then coming back and repeating that for S2, S3, and sometimes S4, right? And so if we get a more consistent approach in the office, and we have a more consistent approach in the back, and I don't think I finished, I was starting to talk about our technicians, right? How many body techs do you have now? 7 or 8, right? And you've got 7 or 8 probably different, some of them are maybe close, some of them are not, right? But you get 7 or 8 different disassemblies going on out there. And yeah, you've got some people, and I started to say this, where they're just organized and meticulous type people, so when they take a car apart, they do it for themselves, right? They organize it for themselves. Then you've got other techs that take cars apart that crap's just strewn across the entire floor, right? When you go out there to look at it, you got to step over, ripped metal and everything else, right? So part of getting to a consistent result is not only us looking at it consistently, right? But getting the technicians to do a consistent disassembly, right? So you've got to set a standard for that and our expectation for that, right? And if we just simply let them take damaged parts off to expose the hidden damage, then all we're doing is tearing the part out. And all we're doing is setting ourselves up for multiple supplements on that part, right? That's really just the reality, okay? So we'll try to get back to this sheet and maybe look for some key page items and stuff later. But everybody with me on the thought process that we all looked at the same car, right? And we get very different. I know I didn't go around the room, right? But we get very different results, and I'm fairly certain we've got that same thing going on right here, right now, right? But we all looked at the same stuff. And oh, by the way, this photo deal, even though I sent you photos to write a sheet, that's where life's going too, by the way, right? Everybody's with me on that, right? So the insurance companies that's where this photo thing's happen. You got a scowl on your face. So here's the thing on that, by the way. I think it's an advantage to us. Nobody in here agrees with me on that?
I agree.
I agree.
It's totally an advantage for us, right? So what insurance companies are doing, just so you know, because I have friends that work there, is they are laying off people that are, well, like ex-technicians of mine or possibly yours in Houston that are, smart guys. I got an A-tech that worked for me for a decade, but now he's a DE in Allstate, right? He gets paid a pretty good chunk of money and has a company car and travels around Northwest Texas and re-inspects all kinds of crap, right? Well, his job's going away. And they have laid off like 60 plus people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that were long-time employees. And this is just Allstate, but they're all doing the same thing. Huh?
21 in Houston.
21 in Houston, so see, and what they did in Dallas, and I don't know about Houston, they probably did the same thing, is they let all those people go, but they rehired those people. Okay, they still hired back the same 60 that they laid off, except for these 60 they have in now. They don't have any experience. They're getting paid less money. They don't have a company car. The benefit structure for the parent insurance company is a lot less. In other words, they just save themselves a bunch of money on salary, right? So now, those are the people that y'all are going to be dealing with on the other end. And I know there's going to be some frustration there, but my point is if we get our act together, they're going to be easier to deal with long term.
They are.
Yeah.
I know.
So you're already feeling it?
Yeah.
I'm using it to my advantage. If
Yeah.
they're not coming out, then they're gonna get my pictures and my requests.
Right.
Most of the time I found that they're getting,
Yeah.
Allstate Emergency Assist, I'm putting the phone up to the car and saying, you see that? They're like, yeah, I totally see that. And then they give me my hours.
Yeah, and that's where it's all going to go, right? So, I mean, you guys and gals are already dealing with it, and I promise you that's going to be 100% of it here pretty soon. And on that note, I mean, I say pretty soon, it'll be a few years, I imagine. But I really feel this, right? I could be wrong. But the way the insurance companies are positioning themselves right now, DRPs are starting to slide away. Insurance companies aren't able to push or steer as many people through their programs as they once were. Allstate, by the way, is only steering 17% of their collision through their program right now. That's a real number. So that's not a very high number, right? I think they realize that that's kind of going away, and there's a lot of outside forces making that happen. One of them is the OEM, right? Everybody kind of realized how much more involved the car makers have been in our industry over the last few years. It's a huge, huge change. I can tell you when I left the shop in '08, and it was a Honda dealer like I told you, there was no Honda dude that I could call at Honda on the collision side and say, hey, I need some information on how to put this quarter panel on or whatever it is. But now, 10 years later, they got a whole team of people. And it's not just Honda, Toyota, Nissan, they all have them now, right? So, and now if you happen to read GM announcement right after NACE, did everybody see that? On their OEM certified program, did you see that one?
I read that they
You read that?
introduced it.
They introduced it right after NACE, so maybe 2 weeks ago. You can now apply for GM's OEM certification program, whether you're a Nissan dealer or an independent shop or whatever it might be. And the point of this babble is, and this is why I feel like insurance companies are starting to go this way, GM has come out and said they're taking first point of contact away from the insurance companies, okay? They're not even mincing words. They're going to take it away. And every time a GM car gets wrecked, OnStar is going to pop on and say, Luis, I see that you got into a wreck. Are you okay? Is everybody fine? Yeah, I'm fine, but my car's not drivable. Okay, we see you're driving a whatever Chevy Corvette. Here's the 5 Chevy shops that are certified, they have, and they're gonna sell it, just like an insurance company sells their DRP, oops, sorry buddy, to them about, they're gonna have guaranteed or, lifetime warranties, and they're gonna stand behind it and all that kind of stuff. Now the OE is taking that position, right? So they're gonna tell them, and they're gonna be more powerful than the insurance company is because these people bought cars from them. So when the OE gets on OnStar and tells them, you really should go to a GM certified shop and here's the 5 that are within a 10-mile radius of you, my gut tells me is people are gonna listen. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I think they're going to be persuaded by the OE a lot easier than they're persuaded by insurance companies to go somewhere. So, with that said, from a marketing standpoint, if you haven't started thinking about what OEM certification programs your shop should be on, it's time that you start thinking about that, right? And the way to do that, by the way, is to look at your book of business, look at what kind of cars you're repairing, right? And look at your work mix and then make an executive decision on who you should and should not want to be on the program, right? Don't be a Texan and say, oh, I'm in Texas, so I should get Ford and Chevy because everybody drives Ford and Chevy trucks, right? That's not a good answer. That's a gut shot. You may be right, by the way, though you may not be, So it's smarter to look at your mix and make an executive decision on which way you would want to go, right? Does that make sense to everybody? So that's a little bit of a bunny trail, but here we go. I promise I am going to get to this class, okay? So let's do this. So benefits of writing a consistent estimate. We talked a little bit about the pre-work, and I'm sorry my flip chart broke, so I didn't have a chance to chart that stuff out for you. But what are the benefits, or actually let's do this. Why do we write them? What is the purpose, and this is blank in your page, right? What is the purpose, right, of writing an estimate? Why do we write estimates? It's blank. Flip to the other. That's for them. I'm sorry, buddy. There you go. It's no answers. This isn't a trick question. There's reasons why you do it,
To
right?
make sure, I guess, you get most of the stuff that you're gonna be needing to repair the vehicle.
So for a parts order, okay, that's certainly one answer, right? I mean,
Parts order.
to get a parts order and what, I'm sorry?
Labor time.
Yeah, labor times, right? I've got answers in my book, but wouldn't you say we write that estimate and we give it to our technician and it gives them, for lack of a better word, a roadmap or whatever you might want to say on what they're supposed to do, a blueprint, whatever word you want to say, to fix the car, right? They use it for that. Don't we use it for billing? We use it for invoicing. Yeah. We use it to determine cycle time in our shop. Hell, if we're not doing it, I can promise you your insurance partners are doing it, right? Yeah. What's their number right now on touch time? 5? 5 hours produced per day?
Yeah,
Is that
to
kind
manage how fast the car's gonna get out and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we use the estimates for a lot of different things, right? Some other stuff I have on here, though a lot of shops feel like that we write a bunch of inconsequential estimates, right? But there is a benefit to our customer. It's a feel-good piece for them. It makes them understand our commitment to them, right? Would you not agree? I mean, it's hard. It's hard for when a customer comes in that doesn't understand our business, and we try to talk them out of us writing an estimate. It makes them. I mean, I understand why we do it, right? And everybody else in this room does too. But you got to be real delicate about how you do that, because if not, it's a put-off, right? Like we're trying to hide something from them, even though we're explaining to them why we need to do it that way, right? So I talked about billing, I talked about a roadmap for the tech, cycle time. It helps us set our customers' expectation, right? Not only on ECD, right? Because don't we use the estimate to, even if we may be using a different criteria of cycle time to our customer, right? Like in other words, your DRP may say, oh, it's 5 hours per day, it's a 20-hour job, it should be done in 4. We might look at our customer and tell them, as soon as we get it apart, we're going to call and update you, but there's a good chance it could be somewhere at a 6-day repair, right? Buying ourselves a little bit of time so we can hit the expectation that we set. But we use that estimate to set the expectation, right? The estimate can also provide sales leads. Could it not? Something that's not related to that claim. Maybe a ding and a blend panel, that's an upsell, right? Oh, well, here's the one thing I forgot. It also determines our profitability. Would you not agree? Our estimates are where our profit comes from, right? So without those, we can't determine our profitability, which that's kind of important too. Okay? Can you all think of anything else? The only other thing I had on my list was it determines whether or not the car's total. Would you agree with that? Right. So those are the things we use them for. What are the benefits of writing a consistent estimate for the repair center? Right. This is already in your book, right? But hopefully it provides for consistent and fair pricing, right? A consistent method for analyzing judgment times. We haven't talked about that yet. My guess is right now we don't have a consistent method for analyzing judgment times. As a norm, we don't in this industry. But I'm talking about a couple of things of how you can do that. Enables us to follow our DRP guidelines, right? If we're a DRP heavy shop, right? Or you could even make an argument for following your own guidelines within your shop if you have those written. Keeps the repair process moving, allows for a more accurate initial parts order. Would you agree? Right? By the way, what stops cars from moving from body to paint?